how to lazy load HTML images the easy way. I'm going to show you how simple it is to lazy load HTML images. But what's more important is that you understand how to use this, because incorrectly using it may actually slow down your website. So let's go and see how we're meant to use lazy loading on HTML images. Since images play an important part on modern websites, now we have option 4, loading equals double quote lazy double quote. Okay. All you need to do is make sure that your HTML image tag includes loading equals lazy. By just adding that, you're basically telling the browsers to render that image only when it's in the viewport. That's how simple it is to use lazy loading on images. You do not and you should not use JavaScript coding or utilizing Interaction Observer API to trigger image load, all that stuff. But rather, use the technology that's available to you. And that is by using this new image attribute called loading equals lazy. Okay. Modern browsers such as Chrome, Firefox, Microsoft Edge, they all support that tag. If that's the case, adding JavaScript code for the web page load times will actually may slow down your web pages because it needs to calculate that JavaScript, okay? So simple, easy technique for lazy loading is by just using loading equals lazy. Now, what's more important is that we understand what in the world lazy loading is doing and the correct way of using it. Because incorrect way of using it will actually, it may slow down our web page load times. So, let's take a look at what we're seeing on the screen right now. Since I'm using my desktop device, whatever that is visible to my eyes, in this example, it's called above the fold. It's the first eyeful. It's the most important real estate on a web page. But the fact is, people use various different devices, such as laptops, their mobile phones, iPads, to visit web pages. That means this image should not lazy load. So that's an image tag here, because doing so would not be smart. But there are other images that someone has to scroll down the page. As we can see, now there's another image here. This image is a perfect candidate for lazy loading. Okay. Once again, this image should not be lazy loaded. Images above the fold should not be lazy loaded, because you want that to be shown to the visitor as quickly as possible. And yet, other images that's not in the viewport should not be loaded. And that's what lazy loading does. It waits for the image to come into the viewport before browser starts downloading it. Make sense? So that will definitely improve page load times. So instead of waiting for all the images to load before the web page shows content to people, we use lazy loading to say to the browser, wait browser, don't load the image that's not in the viewport. Wait, load it lazily, as in wait around, be lazy a little, don't calculate anything unless the visitor scrolls down and brings that image into the viewport. So I'm going to now show you the code. So don't be overwhelmed, just to show you what we're doing. Using Chrome Developer Toolbar, I'm pressing F12 on the keyboard. I select the arrow key and hover over that image. That's a featured image on a typical WordPress blog. And as we can see, the image tag does not include lazy loading for that image. And yet, let's look at the next image. And here we are loading it lazily, as in we're using that loading lazy thing here. Okay, that is how you need to use lazy loading. Once again, do not lazy load every single image on your web pages, but rather ask yourself, the images that's below the fold, how can I add lazy loading to those images? Now, as I've said, since people use many different devices, you can use Google Chrome Developer Toolbar to press on the mobile device icon here and select different devices. Your website visit, you may be selling, let's say, Apple products, and you know your target audience is actually using Apple devices. That could happen. If that's the case, you optimize image loading accordingly to that device. If your website visitors are using laptops, let's imagine your target audience are students, and most of them do have laptops to visit the internet. If that's the case, you can select a laptop with certain resolutions and say, okay, what would my target audience see in that first eyeful area? And whatever image you have there, you don't lazy load it. Make sense? And you scroll down and then say, okay, in the first eyeful, whatever the image, I shouldn't lazy load. When my website visitor scrolls down, the image is there, you lazy load. There are two different ways for you to understand your target audience visitor interaction with your website. The simple way is Google Search Console. Under Performance, you can press Devices. Here you will see what people are using. What device? Desktop, mobile, tablet, and so on. But if you're utilizing Google Analytics, then under Audience tab, under Technology, you can explore the browser that people are using the most, the mobile devices that they're using the most. Make sense? Here, Apple iPhone, we've got Technology. Let's imagine, let's press on Overview. You can see screen resolutions, and you can really, spend that 5-10 minutes to really understand how you need to optimize your web pages. So Google Analytics can be complex. You don't have to learn all the little things here, but rather, perhaps Overview tab will be smart. Under Audiences, Mobile, Overview, or you can say, you know what, since I'm using Google Analytics, let me look at devices as well. Okay, because once you understand who's visiting your website, what devices that they use, then you'll know exactly how to optimize your website as well as lazy load images correctly. Let me wrap it up once again. Do not lazy load all the images on your web pages, but rather only lazy load images that is not in the above the fold area, because that's how it's meant to be done, or else you'll actually slow down your site, and that's the last thing that you would want to do. Remember, the free version of Masterclass course by RankYa shows you how to optimize images for the page experience update Google has recently made that covers Core Web Vitals as well. Meaning, websites that load faster, Google will reward them. and lazy loading images is one part of search engine optimization equation, so to speak. I thank you very much for learning with RankYa, and I'll talk with you in the next video session.